Hello everyone and welcome to Gaming with Shoggoths. I just threw together a few enclosures um, to give you guys some ideas for things you can do with fences. A lot of people have asked me how I do the um, sauropod enclosure with the water that they drink from outside of the enclosure, so I'll go over that. Plus just some other things that I like to do with fences in this game. I am using mods, as you can see, like we've got the short fences over here. This is like gonna become like a staple of everything I do. I always have to do it now, apparently. With the little Protoceratops enclosure. It's like a little petting zoo here. Um, and I love this little fence for that. But as you can see, I am using modded fences. These these things will work just fine with the normal in-game fences for Jurassic World. I don't know how well they work with Jurassic Park stuff. I've never tried it. I should, but I would think theoretically it would work because this behavior is the behavior of the AI. It has nothing to do with the actual fences. This is what the AI is programmed to do. Okay. So the first thing I'll do is just show you how to do the sauropod enclosure. Unfortunately, the AI only works with, or is programmed into the three very large sauropods, which is the Mamentrosaurus, the Dreadnoughtus, and the Brachiosaur. And basically what you do is you have your enclosure however you want it. I always use the short fences because I think it just looks better. Realistically, maybe they're not the most protective fences when it comes to big sauropods, but then again, theoretically they're big gentle giants, and they wouldn't really have any reason to bust through, typically, anyways. But it's like I said, it's part of their AI, so it's not really something that you can control. It either works with their AI or it doesn't. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, so you build your enclosure however you want it, and then you pick where you want the water to be. Um, and then what I usually do is I put at least temporarily, although I usually leave it there, and that's kind of so the guests can, walk by. And in the real world, they would be wowed by this. But in the game, it doesn't give you any extra points, but it makes you feel better when you do something cool, right? So I usually put down a path, and then I just fill it up to the path between the fence and the path of water. That's still not a river. Okay. Yeah, and just go like it. Oh yeah, it's gonna get mad because there's a dinosaur there. But you go like that. Just try and get as much water in there as you can. And then you want to trim it back, basically. These guys are all gonna go for it because I left them without water, so I can show you how to do this. But you want to trim it back, and I mean you can fuss with it as little or as much as you want to try and make it perfect. That's up to you. What you don't want though is for it to come too far on the other side of the fence, or else they'll just dip their heads over right there. And, yeah, I mean that's good enough. You get the idea. One thing I will say is that with the Dreadnoughtus, it seems to be very picky. You need to make sure that this is pretty wide so that it, like the bottom of the water is essentially deep. If it's thinner, the water will be shallower, and for whatever reason, the Dreadnoughtus will not drink from it. But see, as you can see, the Mamenchi went straight for it. It's bending over. There you go. Now, with the other fences, like the normal game fences, they do it just the same. What ends up happening though is like their neck clips through like one of the top bars of the fence. It'll even happen on these other modded fences that aren't the shorty fences, which is why I use the shorty fences. But I mean, I used to do this before I started playing with mods, and you just kind of have to pretend that their neck's not clipping through a fence. I will say I was not the first person to come up with this. I've seen multiple people use it in their enclosures. I know I've seen Evolution Square use it, and I remember she said she got it from someone else. So, like, who knows who started this, but I'd be happy to give whoever started it credit for the idea if someone, if someone knows. So, um, I have tested this with all of the sauropods, and it only works with these three. I also tested it with the large carnivores just because I was curious. Because like the T-Rex and the car and all that stuff. They dip their heads over it. Like it's not just like a straight down action. So I thought maybe that would work. But it doesn't. And I mean, really, you wouldn't want to do that with a carnivore, anyways. Yeah, just walk right over this fence and grab some people. But the way you can tell if it's working or not is, when they're hungry, it will say looking for water. If it's not working, they'll be like dehydrated and they'll just be like roaming or looking for food, and they'll just never come up with looking for water, and that's because the AI does not recognize it on the other side of the fence. I don't know why this is programmed into them, because it does kind of look a little more awkward with the normal game fences. Their necks are sticking through them, but it is part of their program. So yeah, so that's the water feature. I usually, once I get it all smoothed out, I usually throw down some rocks or, other decorations. I kind of try and make it so that it looks like the rocks are what's keeping the end of the water in, which is not how it's going to look right here. Too close to dinosaur, even though there's a fence there. But, I usually throw in some rocks, throw in some more grass, bushes and whatever in here to finish it off. Fix my path. That path looks horrible, but it's because this fence is slightly crooked. Oops. But I was wondering if the sauropods would eat from a feeder outside the gate. And it turns out, sort of. I had them like right here before I had this here. I had them like lining this, and only the Mamenchosaurus would go for it. The other two would not, no matter. And you can only get it so close before it doesn't let you place it too close to the fence. And I'm guessing because of the neck, only the Mamenchosaurus AI was registering that was like edible food. But then, so what I did was I put it in a gated area that goes into the enclosure, but is, cordoned off from the rest of it. So that they're eating outside the enclosure, but it's technically inside the enclosure, and that seems to register with them. All three of the big sauropods will eat from it with no problems. I've seen all three of them, one on each side, go for it. So, and that looks pretty cool. So what I did is I put, a path up here, but because there is nothing, there's no enclosure, or not enclosure. There's no viewing gallery, nothing over here. The guests don't go. So it just looks like an empty walkway to a tree, which doesn't quite look that right. I mean, it looks fine. I think, if you suspend your disbelief or expand your imagination, you can imagine people down here looking up and watching these sauropods eat. But then I had another idea. I was like, well, in order to get people walking up the path, you need like a feeding gallery, or a viewing gallery or something. I tried it with the restroom, and it did get people circling this for a while, but it didn't get them going up and down it like I was hoping. But this did. So this is just a viewing gallery with the path, and then on each side we have feeders. Big feeders. No, show me. And we have the feeders lining it. We have some trees there just for effect. And now you can see people walking by, the sauropods more or less eating over their heads. And I thought that was pretty cool. Once again, it looks better with this little fence, but it works with any fence. It's just, depending on the size of the fence, there will be more or less clipping from the dinosaur to the fence. Now, what's great about this, and I imagine it'll work with the other setup as well, with with the feeder inside the enclosure, quote unquote. It also works with the Diplodocus and the Ankylodocus. It doesn't work with the Apatosaurus, the Chimera, and not the Nigerosaurus, which isn't much of a surprise. But it does actually work with the Diplodocus and the Ankylodocus, which is cool. That means you can have a little bit more variety going on with these kinds of enclosures. One thing I did notice, though, that was kind of weird is that they never go to these. They each patiently wait their turn, and one at a time, because they can only get on one side, one at a time come to these. They never go to these, and I don't know why. No idea why. I've repositioned them like a million times. I feel like they're almost identically in the same spots. And for some reason, they just don't fit. Or, that not fit, but they just don't come to these. Like, I've seen the dinosaurs be standing right here. It says looking for food, and they walk all the way around. I don't know why that is, but that it is. So, you know, it is what it is. I thought about getting rid of these and then making a water enclosure here, which is an idea. You can have water this side, food that side. Be interesting. I like how this, having the food over here on the walkway, opens up this area. So you can have all your decorations and your trees without having to worry about them not being able to fit right next to a feeder. And it kind of opens this area up and makes it a nicer viewing experience, in my opinion. Of course, you know, and they do walk like all around all the time. So it just makes this area nice. And then you're not looking at those weird feeders that just don't blend in. So just, you know, it's a couple ideas for feeding and watering your sauropods to spice things up and change things up a little bit in your park. I do have one more enclosure over here. It's nothing. It's a huge enclosure. I don't know why I made it that big. I was just messing around. I'm trying to perfect. Well, perfect is probably a strong word. I'm trying to get better at making these like bowls, where it's deep down, using those terrain tools instead of flattening everything and then building upon them. I'm trying to build down into it. I'm just trying to get better at it. I put the sauropods in here that I was using for testing the different features. And once they were like starving or dying of dehydration, I healed them up and put them in here. Felt bad. So we got some chimeras, Nigerosaurus, Apatosaurus. I was really kind of bummed that the food thing doesn't work with the Apatosaurus. It's got a pretty long neck. I do like doing this with the fences, though. These, having like, you know, some kind of concrete, modded or unmodded, but some kind of concrete, and then having just little spots where you could see through when you're walking by. You'd be like, oh, what's in there? You gotta come over and look, come take a look, you know, and that's how you would get guests interested, wanting to go in. Or, of course, you'd probably have like a gift shop in there where you sell them stuff. And that's how you funnel them in to your, you know, your money areas. But yeah, so just switching up using different fences on an enclosure is also a nice way to change things up. If you do mods, I highly recommend this fence set. It really, you know, changes things up. It just gives a different look to the game. This is the concrete fence. Actually, you know, we could probably just do this quick. I'm sure these have been shown in mod episodes before, but, well, I know, I like, you know, showcases and stuff like that, but we'll just do it real quick anyways. So many videos out there to see. Alright, so these are the short fences, which is the light steel fence. And then this is the electrified light steel fence. And then this is the heavy steel fence. And it does differ in the sense that you can't see through it, like you can with the normal heavy steel fence. It's not bars, which I think this looks way more like what I would imagine a heavy steel fence to look like anyway. And then this is the electrified heavy steel fence, and it is a lot taller than the original Jurassic World Evolution heavy steel. And then we have the two giants, and these are giant. They're huge. That's the concrete. And that is electrified concrete. And these fences are just great. They just add a whole other dimension, I feel like, to your park. And they look quite lovely. But anyway, so these are just some, some modding tips. Although, like I said, none of this stuff is exclusive to modded fences. You can do all of this stuff in this video with mods, or without mods. It doesn't matter. Um, it'll just, look different. And that's totally okay. So if you're on the PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, you can do this stuff too. It's just have a different look to it. Alright. So yeah, so this is the sauropod alley. Another kind of, see, there's multiples of them eating, and I bet you that bracket. Now it's roaming, might not be coming for food. But yeah, I mean it's a shame we can't get the human AI to come walk this way. It would just look better. Still looks fine though. I mean, you don't build these parks for the AI anyway. You should build it for yourself, right? Or all the people you're going to show it off to. And then the water fixture over here. And of course our little petting zoo. So yeah, there's some ideas for how to change up your park a little bit with fences. They're simple, nothing hard about it. No real trick to it. You just got to do it, and you'll have some different little interactions with your dinosaurs. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, please do leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will be back with more Jurassic World Evolution tips and tricks real soon. Until next time, have a good one.